light of the factual scenario that gives rise to these charges, my best understanding from a thorough review of the police report and as much body-worn camera as I've had an opportunity to review is that I understand that our victim broke up. They had an intimate relationship for a number of years, defendant and victim, that our victim broke up with this defendant on Monday morning early, that there continued to be defendant making numerous phone calls and sending numerous texts from that time moving forward that she did not answer, did not respond to, and did not want. That eventually she presented herself to the University of Michigan, cooperated in some form of investigation there. As we all now know, defendant was at some point on Wednesday afternoon fired from his employment. He then, at some point soon thereafter, came to her apartment in the address that is alleged in the complaint, barged his way into that apartment, immediately then proceeded to a kitchen drawer, grabbed several butter knives and a pair of kitchen scissors, and began to threaten his own life. I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to make you watch. My blood is on your hands. You ruined my life. And a series of very, very threatening, intimidating, terrifying, quite frankly, statements and behaviors there in that apartment. It was only then, Your Honor, when the victim, she called her attorney and then at some point indicated she was going to call the police, and then he left. And so, Your Honor, while I understand that there isn't evidence to suggest that he directly threatened the victim with any of those implements that I've indicated, the totality of the behavior is highly threatening and highly intimidating. She was terrorized, Your Honor. And in light of the totality of all of those circumstances, we consider the defendant to be a risk to public safety, a risk to this victim, and it is for those reasons that we are asking for those specific conditions. I am more than happy to answer any other questions that the court may have or give you further information, and I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, Judge.
9 minutes to 5.
Your Honor, let me start at the end where the people ended. In terms of risk to public safety, my client's 39 years old with zero prior criminal history, zero prior contact with the criminal justice system in any fashion. The threat to public safety argument by these charges, maybe that's the point, but there's no evidence to suggest that he's a threat to the public safety. The next thing is that the people referenced the court rule that I want to come back to, that you can't deny bond in a situation like this, and they referenced something else that I want to come back to, which is the fact that they reviewed thoroughly the police report, and they reviewed thoroughly the body cam. I've had none of that opportunity. And not too early for that in the proceedings, so when people come here and make factual representations, although I trust Ms. Mirsky very much as an officer of the court, I have no ability to respond to those factual representations. So here's what I'm going to ask the court. The monetary bond component, the two considerations by court rule are my client will appear. Let me speak to that. He's got a home here. His family is here. He's got ties to our community. He's retained a local counsel here. Second thing is that my client is not otherwise a danger to the public or danger to the complainant. That is why monetary components are requested, but there are other measures to address them. For example, the request for a GPS tether, that was an expected request. My client will gladly comply with that request. The second thing is my client having no contact. Have an order from the court like everyone else does, that there would be no leaving the state, let alone the country, without permission of the court, and he would certainly abide by that. Your Honor, with respect to the request for a mental health evaluation, I will represent a few things that are my understanding, again, without being privileged to have reviewed discovery yet. My understanding is that following his arrest, my client was taken to the St. Joseph Mercy Health system for an evaluation, a mental health evaluation. My understanding is following that evaluation, he was not turned over for a commitment, but instead turned back over to law enforcement for lodging. That's where he's been at the Washington County Jail sits. I can also tell the court that the Community Mental Health Department saw my client yesterday for an evaluation as well without any further recommendation. If you make that a condition of bond, I can tell the court that he get a mental health evaluation, he will absolutely comply and follow any aftercare recommendation. Lastly, Your Honor, with respect to the bond amount. I forgot to speak about weapons. He has no weapons, but he'll surrender. If you order that he surrender any weapons that he doesn't have, he'll be glad to comply with that condition. With respect to the bond amount, Your Honor, in a case like this, with charges like this, in a normal circumstance, we'd be requesting a personal recognizance bond and frankly expecting the court to order that. We all know this is not our ordinary circumstance. It's not an insignificant amount of money to anyone. And I ask that the court set the bond amount to the principles not of my client's bank account, but to the principles of the charges and to the principles of the court rule. Therefore, I'm requesting that if the court orders a monetary component at all, that it be with a $25,000 10% privilege. And also, Your Honor, if my client is to order to a GPS tether, things have to happen pretty significantly to try to get that in place in time for what we hope to use in this day. Thank you.
Mr. Moore, could you state your name, please?
Sherrone Moore.
Sir, you are not to use alcohol, marijuana, or any other controlled substance that is not prescribed to you. You are not to possess or purchase a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You are not to engage in criminal conduct of any kind whatsoever. You may not leave the state of Michigan without permission of the court. Prior to your release, you will be placed on a GPS tether. You will not be released before that GPS tether is placed upon you. You must continue all mental health treatment as a condition of with your lawyer. That concludes this hearing.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
All right, we're off record. We're going to give 10 minutes for everyone. We're going to take a recess.
All rise, please.